Everybody, go Raps. Welcome to COVID Chats with Coach Doug again. And I'm so super excited. Tonight's guest is the one, the only, the Honger, Mr. James Hong. He is an icon. He is amazing. He is coming right at you. He is presently the director of instruction at Harbor Links in Long Island. He is a super awesome guy, probably one of the best junior coaches I know, and he has graciously decided to come and join me. And without any further ado, here comes the one, the only, the Honger. There he is, brain cramp.
I'm sorry. You know what it is, Doug? I'm sorry about it. I mean, look at what I've had to deal with.
You
Look at
too?
what I've had to be looking at.
No, don't say that. Wait, I was just looking at that myself. He sent it to
Just,
me. He said, I don't understand what James is telling me. Can you help me?
I was telling him that's basically what he has to do with his club. It's just,
Break
where
it?
is it? Yeah, I
Right?
got it here. We're talking about forces and torques. Forces this way, force that way, and I
Wow. Sometimes as coaches, we just have to tell them just break it and walk away, right?
Hey, Bradley.
Hey, Brad. Awesome. Oh, man. Hey, Hunger, how are you, buddy? Great to see you.
What's going on, my man?
You know what? Getting through. Actually, pretty busy. I gave like 3 lessons today, which was very cool. It's been a lot of fun. I think I'm really enjoying doing these chats. So thanks for coming on. It's been great. People, for those of you who are tuning in, this guy right here, this guy is one of the best humans around. He is just a super duper awesome guy. He's a director of instruction at Harbor Links in Long Island. He's a great coach. He's written for Golf Digest. He's a U.S. Kids Master Coach. He knows all so much about so many different things. And the really cool part is he gets blamed for so many things in the golf world, and he just accepts it.
It's all my fault. I take full responsibility. It's like, look at what happens.
You get blamed for weather, strange occurrences.
Yep.
Basically, I think the polar vortex, like various things. I'm really surprised, no one's accused you of, what, right? Why we're all in quarantine.
You know what? To be honest with you, I'm surprised no one sent me a message about it too. Yep.
I'll be the first.
I guess that's hands off.
Yeah, really. It really should be. Exactly. Oh man, you put up a hilarious picture when this all first started of you were all hoarding your toilet paper and all that stuff, and it was just amazing. I really I really think that this is, and I mean, let me know your thoughts. I really think this quarantine and isolation stuff is really causing us. I mean, you are in the hotbed, brother. Like you are in like,
Yeah.
wow. I'm feeling for you guys in New York City and Long Island and all that. But I really think this is making us as pros really look deep into our creativity.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I mean, I know, I've had like private conversations with people about this. It's just, you have to find a way on another platform, something where
Yeah.
you can keep yourself going. I mean,
Right.
and I think we were in a way sort of headed in this direction. More and more of us were starting to look at online platforms as it is.
What?
And in a way, this whole scenario is just kind of like a kick in the butt. Hey, whatever you were thinking about doing, time to do it. Let's get going.
It's a really good point. That's a really good point. I mean, I was having that chat with Scott Coates about, I mean, he does a great job of
Right.
his certification because I've done it, but it's really, and as you have, but it's a really cool thing is that, that is so super easy for him to take online, right? And the really cool part about this is, I think it works in a way of helping us improve our communication skills. I think it really gets you. I mean, one of the things that I haven't created yet, but I have to go do it, is you should really, kind of corner the market on your spatula wedge, because that thing is gold, man. Like, that is gold. I love that thing, right? To understand how to use the bounce, like, that was spectacular,
Yeah.
right? Oh, question came in. Wants to know from it's a Lawrence Brad. He wants to know if Arlen can come on instead of James.
I don't think Arlen. Well, I was just about to say something. I don't think Arlen can reach up high enough to see the camera, but then he's only a couple inches shorter than me to begin with. So
I was going to say, hold on, man, that's a bit of a stretch for you. Oh, man, that's too funny. All right, so listen, we're just going to get right into these. I sent you some questions, and we'll get through some people. You watching, ask this guy some questions, ask me some questions. We love to help you. If you have any questions in regards to online coaching, juniors, what to look for in a coach, parents, if you have any questions, by all means, ask away. This man is an expert, and again, it's just great to have him here. So, your dad was a university professor.
right.
All right. And, he had a really good influence on you. I mean, I remember listening to Jason Sutton's podcast, The Guru, with your interview about, you'd finish school, Fridays, you guys would go out and you guys go play. And it really helped shape you, as the love of golf. And then, it's one of your enduring qualities, which is interesting because you haven't really pushed it on your boys.
Right.
And what I was thinking about this is, what advice can you give to parents who may have that child that is just, they're not sure if they want to get them into it, or they want to, how can they give us your best slow burn advice, or advice for parents who love golf, but maybe their kid's not so interested in it?
Yeah, I think what you have to do is if you're trying to see if you can get your kids interested in it, is that obviously one of the things we talked about before is you're trying to find a coach that will sort of spark something in them. And when I say spark something, I don't mean like, oh, mom, dad, I want to be a tour player tomorrow now.
Right.
I mean, just get them to realize that this is a fun game to start learning, that it's challenging. It's far different from a lot of other games where it's like you might be playing within 5 minutes of picking up whatever utensils. Here, yeah, there's a couple of things that maybe you have to figure out first before you're out on the golf course and playing, and it's difficult. So not only making it fun, but understanding that there are challenges to it, and learn to accept the challenges, enjoy the highs and lows of learning the game. And that's part of it. They're not going to come out and be Tiger Woods in 5 minutes. I mean, and so finding a coach that will kind of connect with your children is going to be important. And connection. Connection. You have to, and being able to understand that. Listen, it's you're kind of feeding it to them little by little, and letting them see that, yeah, this is a great game to really take up, and it's a lifetime sport. You could be playing this till the day you die. You could be playing this with your own children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren even. And so this is something that's a lifelong activity for you. And so don't try to force them all onto them in 30 minutes.
So, you know what, it's really interesting because, I really think that there's so many different ways to introduce this game to kids, right? And I mean, there's some great people in our industry that do it in a bunch of different ways. You and I both have very good players who are really young. You've got Arlen, I've got Penny, and there's complete outliers. Now, one of the things that I find is so much important is to play games and be as creative as possible with her. And I mean, you've got Kate Tempesta, with Early Birdies. You've got Richard Franklin with Discovery Golf.
Right.
How much do you think the parents need to have, hey, Sam, the proper understanding that when you go into a golf program, it's not all grip, stance, posture, especially when they're so young?
Yeah, it's like you're trying to make them realize it's a game, and the bottom line is it's a fun game, and it's that we're not teaching them all just like gotta be like this, is because that's the fastest way to turn them off. I mean, when when you show them other activities, other games to play, like basketball or soccer, the coaches are not like that. They're not saying, put your feet this way, make sure your hands are this way, make sure everything is this way. They're saying like, oh no, try and hit the ball, try and kick the ball, try and do this, try and hit it further. And like, all right, let's run around, ha, 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 ha. And that's what we're trying to do as well in golf. And it's like all of a sudden we're trying to put them in a jacket and tie kind of atmosphere or format. It's the fastest way to get them to go down the road.
I think we can agree that, golf, 30 years ago was a lot more like that than it is today with society, yeah. The kids are, and how they're coming at this thing. And they've got so many other distractions. I really think that we need to be way more creative in how to keep them engaged. And the keys in these parents that are looking for these coaches is that you have somebody who is, engaging, building relationships, rapport, all these things that, your kid
right.
is going to die to go see them, right? Nothing
right.
worse than a parent. And I love some of your comments. It's great. It's like, hey, want to bring out Billy for a lesson? When are you free? I'm free between 5 and 7. Okay, great. How about 7 o'clock? It's like the parents have to kind of wrap their heads around, like, look, the schedule has to be good. If you want to come see me, I'm going to help your kid love this game.
Right.
But you guys have to work with us a little bit better, right?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Let's say I have an 11 to 14-year-old who wants to get into golf. What do you think they should look at as far as golf clubs? Because that's almost a little bit outside the U.S. kids realm. What do you think they need to do, and how do we get kids in clubs that aren't too heavy for them?
Like where I teach, what I do is I have different clubs. I'll have the U.S. kids golf clubs, like the 63-inch ones, the Tour Series ones. I'll also have ladies clubs, and I'll even have a couple of senior clubs as well. And then what happens is that first lesson or two, I'm just kind of shifting clubs in and out of their hands and just seeing how they react to it. Most of the time when you hand them the U.S. kids golf club, they're fine, but that's because it's very light. And for the most part, you can see that probably maybe they're swinging a little bit faster than those clubs. They probably get past that club. So I'll then hand them a club, see how they handle it. And what I start to notice is that as I start to get a little heavier, a little stiffer, now you start to see they're falling off their swing. They're starting to look like long drive competitors with their 7-iron. They're spinning out. Exactly. So that's kind of like the little signal in the back of my head that's going, okay, now you're starting to reach the weight limit. So you start to see that's what they want. And then now from that point, you're having discussions with the parents about, like, look, no need to go out and spend $5,000 on a set of PXG irons or something like that.
No.
It's like, let's see what we can do for them. It could be, for instance, it might be a ping set of clubs, right? And just going from there. And one of the things I like about a company like Ping is that they're like lifetime clubs. You can keep sending them back, getting them readjusted for you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many people now still have their Ping I2 sets, right?
Yeah.
So
collector's items right there, baby. Ping I2s, man. I had a very good friend of mine who's since passed away, but when he passed away, he had 8 sets of pings, and he loved to collect them. He had ISI nickels, ISI copper, and ISI regular ones, right? Like you collector's items, right? But again, he loved pings, and it was really cool. And that's a really good point, because if your kid is now going to get into some competitive stuff, Ping does offer that dependability of just changing the shafts out of all that stuff, right?
Right.
And so
exactly.
It's a really important point. And I mean, that's really a cool point. So we've talked a little bit about parents, talked a little bit about club fitting, all that stuff. 10 years ago, like, social media has allowed us to do a lot of really cool things. Hence the reason we talked about coaching online and doing all this stuff.
Right.
All right. A lot of people have been able to learn and grow their business and do a lot of well from this. And, what do you think, where do you think we're going from here? What does the Golf Pro 5 years from now look like? And what can some people start thinking about, those people that are coming up behind us, that are going to help them stay successful?
I think now, with especially with everything that's going on right now, we have to really be multifaceted with how we approach the student. I mean, it's no longer going to be just, hey, I'm on the T line, I'm here, and you're just waiting for people to show up for a lesson. And like, oh, are you the pro? Oh, can I get a lesson? That's kind of like, that's out the door.
Right.
And so we have to be ready for everything from face-to-face lessons, group practices, group lessons, online lessons now.
Well, you did
Because
some online lessons the other day.
yeah, it's like what's going to happen. What's going to happen
awesome.
now is when we start to get on the other side of everything we're going through,
Right.
are people going to have the income to play as much as they were before, or to take lessons as much as they were before? What
Right.
people are also going to be doing is they're going to be working more because they're trying to recoup the money that they lost to begin with.
100%.
So you're trying to offer them different avenues and let them realize that, hey, you don't have to forget about golf anymore. This can still be a big part of your life, a release valve for the pressures that you're going through. You don't have to be coming to me for a 1 hour lesson or joining it. We can do things online. So yeah, we have to be prepared for that. We got to be ready for that.
That's a great point. I have kids that would drive to see me as they would come to see you out on Long Island, right? Where they're spending 45 minutes, to come and see you. And it's like, when we get the other side of this thing, that may be something that they are not able to do. And, and what this is allowing me to do is this is for yourself, and many others should take a look at this, is you can stay in contact with these kids. And, I've had, the people that I've had on, it's that connection, right? It's staying connected with your kids that you care about, because, we have that internal,
Right.
connection with them. James Jordan, we were talking about it, right? And it's like, hey, FaceTiming, Zoom lessons, getting in front of them,
Right.
and really making sure that they know that you still care as their coach. Because, this is something that I believe kids need. And especially golf is, I think, becoming that sport is going to really be the social distancing sport that is going to be played, right?
Sorry. Yep, definitely. I think what's
So,
going to be interesting is I wonder if there's going to be sort of this collaboration going on. So let's say, for instance, I have an Arlen
yes,
and given a lesson. We might set something up where, like, hey, Doug,
yeah,
why don't you come on in for about 10 minutes and see what say hi to Arlen and stuff, and just say, like, hey, what do you think? And like, maybe you give him 1 or 2 tips,
sure.
right? And then you're off, and it's just one of those things where we're becoming more global with the lesson. That the private lesson
Great way to
might
put
not,
it. Global,
right?
Yeah,
Might not be so much of a one-to-one lesson anymore.
No, you're right, because those who I think that everything is going to be the same as it was need to take a sharp internal look and think, look, if you're not comfortable doing this because you're not you don't think you're good at it, this is the perfect opportunity to practice, because it's really helped other people develop themselves. I mean, we've said them already. My buddy Brad has really improved his on-screen ability, so when he's feeling more comfortable, because public speaking scared the crap out of him growing up as a kid.
Right.
But this has given him the opportunity to become a lot better at it, so much so that he has become quite a very good speaker on camera.
Right.
So you don't get that just by winging it. You have to keep working at it. And it's kind of like golf. You have to keep working at your game. And how do you keep working in these times to get better? So you're Tom Hanks. Well, sorry, you're James Hong, but you've been you've been washed away onto this deserted island. And once you found fire, you were able to start a fire and all that stuff. But like, what is that you build to keep your game sharp? Because there's social distancing and quarantine on a huge scale.
I think what I would do first, I would actually build a left-handed club. And I would build a left-handed club and actually try to do things left-handed, just to get a feel for it. It's almost like seeing it as a rebirth.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Right? It's like, I'm on this deserted island, like a la Tom Hanks,
Yeah.
Castaway.
Yeah.
This in a sense, what we're going through right now
Exactly.
is exactly that situation. So we can sit there and cry rivers of tears, so to speak, or we can go, you know what? This is my opportunity to do something that I've always wanted to do. So how many of us are going into the backyard and finally doing all the garden work that we had been talking about for years?
Oh man, I've had
So
7 rooms
that's
in my
why I
house.
would play left-handed.
Like honestly, no, it's a
I
very
would play left-handed. What I would do is I would try and do it left-handed, and then after doing it for a period of time, whatever it might be, a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever I'm away on that island, it's going to be, then turn around and start to do things. Maybe I would build an iron and use a rock as a ball and just be savvy, work my way on the beach, hit shots around the beach. Maybe because we're going to be exploring on the island, I might as well make the island a golf course and just hit a rock down the beach as I walk around. Right?
There you go. And you know what? And it's like the really cool part about that is that creativity is exactly what I wanted to hear, because when I sent you that question, my point was, and you did it exactly how I was hoping you would do it. I was thinking, can you draw the lines together about how this is where we are right now? This isolation is so huge. What new things can you add to the layers of your game, and you as a pro, as a coach, as a player, how can you change your habits by doing it? I mean, in James Clear's Atomic Habits, he talks about 21 days to change a habit, right? And it's like super important. And if you can do this 21 days, you got the time, people. Listen to what he says. Play left-handed. It's an amazing opportunity to add different skills and do things that would be really, really funny and really interesting to see how it can serve you coming out of this thing on the other side. So one thing, I got another question here. At what age should juniors start to play in tournaments, and how young is too young? So I'm going to just, before you answer that, the other night I had Michelle Holmes on, and we were talking, Michelle and I were talking about her. She was talking about her niece, Katie, who's 5. Right, and I was talking Penny, who's 4. And like, Penny hasn't really played. She's played in some fun events. She's never played in a U.S. Kids event, but that was kind of like her dad was thinking about maybe she might try one. And I was like, the kid has to want to do it before I would say, yes, go do it. What's your thought on tournaments, and how early is too early, or how, when should they start playing?
Yeah, I think number one, like you just said, they have to want to do it. I'll hear the parents ask me, I've been lucky in that a lot of the parents that have young kids will say, do you think they should play? Mm-hmm. What is your opinion? And I'll tell them that I'll ask your child, and if they want to do it, then I'll let you know, right? Because to be honest with you, parents have good intentions, but they'll tell you, they'll say like, oh, he said he doesn't want to play, but he wants to play.
Yes, there you go. Right?
And it's like, oh, really? He wants to play, or you want him to play and you're trying to get him to play? So, for instance, with Arlen was the one who wanted to play. He wanted to be more competitive because he was thinking of it in his old world that it was kind of boring, so to speak. What am I doing this for? And so what we do at our golf course is we have our own tournaments. We hold a monthly tournament for our students, and we tell them, hey, you want to know what it's like to play in a tournament? Join on in. It's a lot of fun. You get to feel what it's like. You feel the pressures. We do everything. We call you up onto the first tee, and from Port Washington, New York, and we do the whole thing. And all of the instructors are rules officials. So we go out and we treat it like it's the U.S. Open. We tell you, and then we come back and then we give out like certificates and stuff like that. And and we have yet to have a kid where we've asked them, did you have fun? Say, no, I don't like tournaments. I don't like it. They come back and they're like, were you scared? Did you flip out? How'd you feel? Oh, I loved it. And so we put all the little kids, we have our own little peewee division for it. They play like 5 holes from 75 yards, 50 yards, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'll use Arlen as an example. He went out and he played it. He loved it. He wanted to keep doing it. And then, so he still plays in them. And the funny thing was that he played
Sorry.
in one um, where we had all of the kids playing. And
Cool.
from his, age appropriate, distance appropriate tees, he came in first place for the boys.
No, crazy. You know what? It's really interesting. So Penny actually went up to these people put on these really cool events for girls.
Yeah.
And one of the things is she just went up and had a great social time with these girls, and you know what? Didn't even realize it was kind of like a tournament. It was more like getting them together, playing, enjoying, meeting girls, other girls who
Right.
this game, right? And it's really cool because there's so many cool connections that they have, right? Yeah. So she would then meet up with another girl at a practice facility and just do some fun practice with her, right? And it was like, you were at their peak performance when you came up to, right? At that place. So, she would go and, practice with a girl who was a couple years older and stuff like that. But again, the competition isn't the main issue, or not the main thing. It's more like the finding other girls to play with.
Yeah, the camaraderie, so to speak. Yeah.
100%. It's really funny. It's amazing the amount of people that are logging in just for the comments versus the actual, content, right? You got Dan Shea saying that I'll play you right-handed and you'll play left-handed, and the loser has to either grow hair or shave their head. Now, I don't know what your left-handed swing's like, Hong, but I might actually take that bet.
All I know is it's like everyone tells me my left-handed swing is better than my right-handed swing.
There you go. Same here. You can ask. Yeah, you can ask exactly 100%. All right. Fast five. I got 5 questions for you. You don't know what's coming, and we'll see what you can answer. Okay. All right. 1 second. Lego is.
What's that?
Lego is. Finish the sentence. Lego is.
Awesome.
Awesome. We've already talked about him, so I already probably know this answer. But Arlen is.
Hysterical.
Okay. Love it. That's great. All right. So you decided, Joe Rogan came to you for a golf lesson, and he decided to trade a little MMA training for golf training with you. And so much, you enjoyed it so much, you're now going to go do a little amateur MMA, and they got to pipe music in for you. What is James Hong coming into the ring? What's playing?
Public Enemy.
Yes. Anything Public Enemy.
Anything public. I got so much trouble on my mind.
I love it.
Refuse
yeah,
to lose.
Boy. There you go. All right. To be a great golf coach, you must be what?
Aware.
Aware. Ooh, good answer. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, so I'm going to dovetail off of that. Aware of?
Who's in front of you?
Wonderful answer. Absolutely could not agree with you more. Fantastic answer. All right. The title, I think I already know what this is. The title of the movie of James Hong's life.
The title of James Hong's life. This can't be real.
Oh, that's great. Oh, man, that's a great answer. That is so cool. I was going to say, why me? But, I mean, that's okay because you get blamed for everything. Oh, my goodness, that's so funny. So, who should younger golf pros and coaches follow, visit, or take lessons from? So there's 3 kind of veins here, all right?
Right.
Who are your top 5 guys that young coaches should, if they're not already following, who should they follow for a myriad of reasons? From juniors to tech to just great coaching and all that stuff.
Right. What I'm going to preface it with is I'm going to leave out all of us that we know each other, like you.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like Michelle, all of us.
Right.
Like we know who we are. I think the people that I would mention are guys like a John Dunnigan. I would mention Jason Sutton, Brady Riggs, Jeff Smith in Indiana,
Yes.
right? And not to downplay Jeff Smith in Las Vegas, but he's already world famous. So
True.
the hell with, forget about him.
Yeah.
But the Jeff Smith in Indiana, and the guys that I bring up, it's not that they all teach the same thing. It's how they communicate. And so, and I'll give you an example. Like for them, Jeff Smith can basically talk to anybody and make them feel like they're your next door neighbor. And I think, and here you see Jason Sutton and you see John Dunnigan. And I was talking to someone else about this morning. Jason Sutton is you got to get your hands on the student. You got to get them in the positions that you want because you want them to feel what you're doing. John Dunnigan is the complete opposite, where he'll say, I don't want to put my hands on the person because I want them to discover their own way to get there. Right? They're both phenomenal instructors.
Very effective guys, right? I took a lesson.
Right.
I got a funny story about those two. So I took a lesson from Jason in October. I was down in Charlotte. I did a short game stuff with him. Dude, I went out first hole or second hole. I think I bladed it 20 yards over the green. It was hilarious. He's rolling in the car, he's laughing his head off, right? John Dunnigan, this is really kind of funny. So I used to teach golf swing fundamentals at a college for a PGM class. And for 4 years, I was using this guy's YouTube video on the ball flight laws. So I'm sitting in the very second, I'm sitting in the front row of the second open forum at Orange Tree or whatever. We were way out at that golf course. I'm sitting beside, I'm watching this panel, and this guy beside me opens his mouth and speaks, and I go, it's the video. I look, and it's John Dunnigan. I've been using his video for 4 years, and I just meet him sitting beside him, and it's like we've been friends ever since, right? Yeah. And it was so very cool because it's like, this is the thing. You're absolutely right. I love the fact that he decides, hey, you know what? You got to feel it and discover it yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
I know another guy. We know this guy. I mean, I'll mention him, even though I just said I won't mention him.
No, that's okay.
Scott Counts.
Oh, yeah.
There's a guy who basically can take all of the science that we've been trying to figure out, and he knows how to implement it into the golf swing. He can funnel that, like what we're all trying to figure out with 3D and all the stuff, forces and torques and everything. He's already done it and strained it.
Well, I tell you, when I got to the point this fall, and I was like, you know what? When can I get? He calls it the voodoo, right? I said, when do I get voodoo? He goes, I was actually going to do a Toronto date. And I said, well, listen, let me host it, right? So it was great. I got to host it.
I saw that, yeah.
It was so great, right? Scott's just a great guy and lives 20 minutes from me and just an awesome man. And the really cool part is it was such a dot connector for me. It's really funny. You made a really good point. All these things we're trying to put together, he's done. And I mean, if he's coming out with 5.0, I can't wait for it. But the really cool part is how it's connected the dots for me in terms of being able to understand so much. So it's really kind of cool, right? And that's a very good point. I mean, there are so many people that we know, and it's a really interesting point. All right. So that's coaches to follow. So I got time to go visit somebody and watch them. All right, give me 3.
In addition to the guys I just mentioned,
right? You can rename the same guys. It's okay.
Yeah, I would mention all of them. A guy that I would mention also is some people love him, some people hate him. Ryan Chaney.
Yeah,
he's different. He's different
sure.
Because the thing about him to watch is you might stand there and watch him, and sometimes you're going, oh, okay, yeah. And then other times you're going, where is this going? Why isn't he? What's going on? Really? And then all of a sudden, he's the guy that at the end
Right.
wraps it up, and you're like, oh wow, wow, okay. Now I know why he was doing that 35 minutes ago or something
Right.
like that. He's that type of instructor, and
That's cool. Because a lot of guys not like they may look at Ryan and not understand that component based
right.
on what comes through, right? And that's by no means a slight on him whatsoever. I just was saying it's a really cool how you can say, yeah, he's the guy that may have you thinking, what the heck am I doing here? And then by the end of it, you're going, oh man, that makes so much sense, right? It's like
Yeah.
one of those. I think the guy for me, I would love to go spend some time with, just for the sake of going to his place, would be James Lights. I would love to go see.
Yeah.
I think his drawl and the way he talks. I mean, I might actually, I might fall asleep, but I mean, at least it'd be very cool to go watch how he does it, right? Because this brain is going a few miles an hour faster than his. But all right, so you have to go take one lesson from one person. Who is it?
Depends on what is it I'm supposed to be doing.
All right, putting.
Putting, David Orr.
Perfect. Short game.
James Ridyard.
Okay. Full swing. Now that's irons.
Irons, Mike Adams.
Okay. Driver.
John Dunnigan.
Ooh, great. Those were awesome answers. I think that's fantastic. You know what? I was thinking about it when I was writing these things down. I was like, man, I can't wait to hear what you say about these things because, very often we don't really, we don't get that opportunity to stand in front of people and go to see them for one specific thing. We're there because we have a myriad of problems, right? But it's really an interesting point. And I really believe that a golf instructor, I interviewed Brady Riggs last night, and I mean, I asked him to give me the difference between a teacher and a coach.
Yeah.
And it was really such a great answer because he said the teacher teaches you the movement, the coach gets you to perform, and it's all about performance.
Yeah.
And I really think that's an interesting point because we often call ourselves coaches, and I think sometimes those lines can get a little bit crossed, right? Because we're needing to define, hey, you and I would say we're great junior coaches, and we go out and we play with our with our kids, and we take them on the course. We're working on their performance as well as we're also very good teachers, right? What do you think is going to be the greatest advantage for someone to be the best coach? What do you think what ingredient can they put in their bag to make them a better coach?
I think along with awareness, I mean, there's a couple of things: awareness, sympathy, and you just have to know what's going on around you. I'm trying to sum it up in a word.
How do they
How
learn?
do I do that?
No, well, yeah. Give me how you. I'd love to hear how you do it, and then I was going to say, how should people do that?
Like what I do is I'm always observing. I think being observant is probably the word I'm looking for. Is being observant, and a lot hand in hand with that is whatever you're observing, you better be open to it. Don't just say don't just look and then ignore what you're seeing. A lot of times, what I'll do, we talk about juniors, is when it's a new student, I'm looking at them and going, is their head up or is their head down? Do they look like they can't wait for this to begin, or do they look like they're being forced into this situation? And how I approach that lesson is going to be determined by what I see going on before they've even met me. And I use this example all the time where when you see the child who looks like they don't really want to be there, they're being forced to do this, or they've had lessons from other people, and so you're just like the fifth person they're coming to.
Right.
And they have this kind of like, here we go again attitude. So I'll
great point. So this is a really interesting point. You know, I've had that happen where,
right.
Oh, can I bring my son to you? You know, I heard you're a great coach. Okay, this guy, right? And it's like one of the things I think one of the things I find I do so much is I throw the blinders on. Now, when I say I throw the blinders on because I just make it him and that the child and myself in terms of like, they're looking at me. I make it all about them. And I really try to find out more about them and what they do. I mean, the look on their faces when I ask them is, so, you know, when you're not playing golf, what are you doing? Right? Yep. They're like,
right.
They're like, I said, do you play any games? Do you play sports? And then it's like, you get some are like, I'm not allowed to play video games. I was like, well, that's okay. What are you doing? You know, I read, or, you know, I play the violin. I was like, okay, that's very cool. And then I got this other kid, Max, right? He's like 7. He's like, do you play Fortnite? I said, no. And like 2 lessons later, do you play Fortnite? I was like, no, Max, I don't play Fortnite. But he asked me like almost every 3 lessons, right? It's like, do you play Fortnite? Right? I was like, no, Max, I don't, but you do, right? And he goes, yeah. And he starts doing all the dances and all that stuff, right? But the really interesting part here is like making it more about them is really a huge point about it. And I like that, what you said. Here's a question. Hold on. This is a question. Who was your favorite in school? Why? An amazing coach can have learned to be good, but to be great, it's just something you just have. The it factor. What are your thoughts? So like, so Brad Ryle, he's asking, who were some of the best people that you learned coming up in school about? Who were the best teachers or coaches that taught you?
I can
talk about your coach. Okay, let's time out.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, this guy is an amazing fencer. He learned fencing. He even scored a point on like the top 15th ranked guy in the world. And the story about fencing is really cool, but enlighten us about your coach, because that guy was pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was, he's still alive. The funny thing is he and I have the same birthday.
Wow.
So yeah, we're always talking about, you know, he's one of those guys. He likes to be very sarcastic, and he goes, you know, and he's from Bulgaria. His name is Vasil. He's like, hey, yeah, you know, it's obvious brilliant people were born on the same day. You know, he'll say things like that. And but he was I think it was 1983. He was the world champion in saber. Something like, one of the early 80s. He was the world champion in saber. And I believe it was the 84, 88 Olympics. He was one of the gold medal favorites for the Olympics. And so, yeah, he was up there. He was well known, obviously. And
amazing. So
he was my coach. And one of the things that he did was he made it fun. He made it challenging. He was different. He was very different. A lot of times fencing lessons were like very, you know, kind of like the old days with us. It's like, you know, this is how you hold a club, and this is how you. And his attitude, and I remember it struck me right away, was like, yeah, you know, some guys, they tell you you have to put your feet this way. It's like, you know, no, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's like, whatever, you do it. And then if he doesn't like what you do, he's like, no, but you don't do that either. That's, you know, no, you don't want to do it. But you can tell right away, you'd be caught up in his personality that, right. Okay, this is fun. And so I enjoyed the conversations with him. I enjoyed learning. And one of the things he let me do is he let me come to the club that he teaches at. It's a private club. He got me a special pass to come in and watch. So because I wasn't a member there, I couldn't get lessons from him, but I could come and watch him give lessons to other people. And that's how I learned. I was always very good at observing. And so that's what I picked up. And then what would happen is my lesson was basically when he would come up to me afterwards and say, so you saw what I was doing with Peter over there, and Peter, blah, 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 like that. And then I would say, yes. He's like, what did you notice? He's like, well, or he would ask me, did you have any questions? Well, I noticed you doing this and this. And he would answer the questions. That was my lesson.
Really?
Then I would say, so in my case, if I was doing this, you would want me to be like this. Yeah, sure. You get it. You understand. Like that. So that was my lesson. And so that's how I kind of got into it. He was very influential. And the way fencing is coached, it's very similar to the way golf lessons are given. So he influenced my style. I think, and I mentioned this to someone this morning again, is that if we sat there and watched a fencing lesson and you not having done anything, you'd sit there and within 5 minutes, you'd turn to me and be like, this is like a golf lesson.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty interesting because you can see how it has influenced your observing, right? Like you said, you're way more aware, right, of what you're doing. And it's an interesting point because some of the things I'm picking up from talking to multiple coaches, some of the best components from you guys is it's this ability to observe and know when to say something. We've all made mistakes. I'm not saying that we don't. But the really interesting part is not one person has sat there and said to me, well, I look at my TrackMan, I look at my GASP, I look at my my body track, I look at this, and that tells me what's going on. Not one person in any of these chats that I've talked about who's a coach, and I'm not really talking a lot about tech stuff, but the really cool part is we all to a person are really bringing up the connection and relationships and how that's born from people that have influenced us. For me, it was I've talked about it, my college basketball coach. He had the biggest influence on me as a coach because he would make you die for him on the court, yet he was always, he was always really, really sympathetic and compassionate. And he is today one of my good friends. He is as much a golf historian and loves the game of golf as much as he loves basketball. And it's really cool because he brought me this lineage of like instructors and said, hey, did you know Toski went to this guy and Flick went to this guy and this and this and this, and he's trained. I'm like, how do you know all this? His library is massive for golf. Yeah. And I'm thinking to be massive in basketball. No. It's the exact opposite. It's all for golf. But his influence in coaching has been like unbelievable because we'd play golf and he would like just pass on these nuggets.
Yeah.
Like, so I know your fencing coach was kind of like a big influence on you. Who's your biggest golf coach influence that's had a biggest effect on yourself?
There's a lot of them. I'm very lucky.
But who gave you your break? Who gave you your kind of like I know your buddy asked you to come over and start teaching and stuff like that, but like, who was the guy that kind of got you to say, this is really what you need to do when you start coaching?
You know what? It's interesting. There's a couple of moments like that. One was actually not a coach. It was a player.
Oh, cool.
And I won't mention who he is, but we were on the range of his course, and my friend, the guy who I met, who got me the teaching, was working there too, and he introduced me to him. And I was like, and he goes like, well, you know who he is. I was like, oh yeah, of course I know who he is. I was like, yeah. So got to watch him play a few holes and stuff like that and whatnot. And then saw him on the range one day, and he came up to me. He's like, oh hey, how's it going and everything like that? How have you been? We talked, and he was like, it's like, yeah, so you're a teacher, right? And I said, yeah, I try to. And he's like, okay. You want to come watch me hit balls? Just tell me what you think. Sure, okay. So he hit a ball, and going back to fencing, one of the things that we were being observant, we'd have to watch things, and so he would hit a ball, and he would look at me, and I would say, "You did this, didn't you?" And he goes, "Yeah." And so that was going on with every shot. He goes, "What about this one?" Boom. And if I didn't see it, I would say, "I don't know." And he would hit another one, and I'd say, well, I think it looks like what you did there is that you just took your memory. We didn't know pronation, supination at that time. It was just like, yeah, it looks like at the top, all of a sudden you just did this with your wrist, and then brought it down, and then that just got the ball to be a little bit lower. And he goes, "You saw that?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, how about this? What'd you see?" And then this was going on for about 12, 15 shots. And I would get like, "What'd you see?" And then I would tell him, he'd like, "Huh." And then all of a sudden, after about 15 shots, he goes, "How long are you here for?" I said, "Well, I'm here for like about 3 weeks," because this was down in Florida. And he
Okay.
goes, "You want to meet me tomorrow?"
Really?
Just like that. He goes,
Very
"Can you
cool.
meet me tomorrow? Can you like just watch me and give me your opinions on what I should be working on, stuff like that." That alone was like, I went back going like, okay, I got a high level player telling me, "Can you meet me tomorrow because you seem to know what you're talking about."
I mean,
So
how's that? That makes you kind of get all kind of butterflies at the same time you're feeling like you're walking on like clouds because it's like, wow, this is so cool.
yeah,
Right?
it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
That's
That was a spark in my life.
yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I still remember I just played in and got my card and I'm working at and we used to do a rain shift at the course I was working at. And I watched all the other guys just come strolling in around 10, coffee in hand, kind of walk up and down, work on their game and all that stuff, kind of maybe help the members here and there, right? The head teaching pro pulls me aside one day and he goes, "Hey, don't be like these other turkeys. All right. You get here early. I'll show you a few things. I'll let you teach and we'll see how that goes." Dude, I was a basketball player still at that point. I had just gotten into golf. And I was like, I'm no dummy. I was there at like 8 o'clock. I was like, "Hey, what can I do?" and all this stuff. And sure enough, he let me teach some of the members and all this stuff, right? And it was really cool because, to this day, he was such a kind soul to help me, right?
Yeah,
And he had that influence, and it was really cool. I wish I had figured out that coaching golf was something I should have been doing from the very beginning. But it takes your pathway isn't always a straight one, right?
yeah.
So, you know, for those of you, so for them, so my last question has to do with like, for those who maybe their path is considerably detoured now. I mean, I have a friend of mine, she sent me a message. She was like, I'm contemplating my career because, we are going to be it's going to look completely different. What piece of advice can you give somebody that may be on the fence here on whether or not to stay with what they're doing in golf?
Yeah, I think you have to have faith in your abilities. If you're seeing this as, I think I'm a good teacher. I
Right.
think I'm a good coach. I think I'm a good people person, and what I want to do is make other people's lives better. Then keep doing it. Find a way. See what you can do. I know I'm being very vague with that, but
No,
if
no,
you're
no.
right, if you're sitting there and you're going, "How am I going to make money? How am I going to how am I going to do? How am I going to make money? How am I going to make money?" And you're thinking about making money the other way, but if your number one goal is simply how to make money, it's not going to work anymore, because everything we've been talking about in this thing, with everything that's going on, it's all about how are we going to connect with people to make them realize we're here to help you get over this. We're here to be your support system. We're part of your support system now. We're not just your golf teacher anymore. We're here to maybe be someone that you can talk to. I mean, we had that before. We had students that
Yeah,
would come up. It's not really a lesson, it's a therapy session. They're just talking to you, right? They just
totally.
want to hit balls with you, right?
Mhm.
That's going to happen more. And so one of the things that I always looked at things as is that if I do my job well, I will make money. It
Oh
will
yeah.
happen,
Yep.
right? I think in the last 5 years, I've probably looked at 3 paychecks. They come from work. They're in the envelope. They're literally, I have a stack of the last 3 years this high of my paychecks, and anyone can come and find them. And it's like, they're not opened. I don't know.
Yeah, you
I,
don't know. It's not about the money. And I can't agree. You know what? Those are absolutely phenomenal words. Wonderful words of advice. I couldn't have said it better myself, brother, because you know what? You're preaching to the choir, and I hope that it resounds with so many. You know what? It's true. The minute you start thinking about that, if it's only money, man, it's you then you need to go find another job because
Yeah.
honestly, really, this is far reaching and far greater, and we are here for a different purpose.
And the point also that I'll make, it occurred to me because you just reminded me of it with the comment you made about your friend who was talking to you about she's not sure. It's
Right.
the more of these kind of everything from podcasts to
Yeah.
Instagram live conversations that people are seeing is you have to realize that, yeah, you feel like you're alone. You feel like you're in the middle of a quicksand pit, but
You're
you
on
have
that
to
island.
realize you're on that island. You're not. You see us. We're all talking. Part of what we're doing is we're trying to help them, help you get through this. So it's okay to send a message. It's okay to private message one of us. It's okay to DM us and say, hey, because like one of the things I've told people that have messaged me is don't be shy. Don't be shy to contact me again. You're not bothering me, believe me, because believe it or not, part of our therapy is this too.
100.
That,
Oh, dude, 100% it is.
right? If I know that I just helped some 23-year-old instructor in Pennsylvania, right? I helped him feel better about his situation. That in turn has boosted my morale. Like one of the things that's
100%.
great for me is that, it's not just that I'm trying to help my students, they're helping me too. The fact that we're doing all of these things, that I see them on the screen when we do a Zoom,
Yeah.
that's uplifting me as well. It's like, what is it? The tide rises all, but right? We're
Yeah.
doing that. We're helping each other. So if you feel like you're alone, just send a message.
Hey, listen, my buddy Colin in Vancouver is like, hey, what about a 42-year-old in Vancouver? Yeah, well, you know what? You're getting lifted up because this guy is absolutely a rock star. And Michelle Holmes says to me yesterday, I've never met James Hong in person, but I got to meet this guy. So you know what, Michelle, you need to do a FaceTime with James because he'll lift you up a little bit more down there in Virginia. Buddy, listen, an hour flies by when we're having
It
fun.
does.
I cannot thank you enough. This has been epic and so amazing. You are forever the Honger, the one, the only. And you know what, buddy?
It's my fault.
It is all your fault. But I'm glad that it's all your fault. And thanks so much for coming on. All the best to your wife and your wonderful two boys. And stay safe, my brother. Okay?
Everyone
We'll
stay safe, stay healthy. Thank
you
you.
got it.